Record. Okay, we're recording. Welcome. So, thought we could talk about lottery winners. And I've talked about lottery winners before, so you may recall. So, if you don't live in the United States, first of all, I'm sorry. And second of all, we have a thing here in the United States. It's a state-run lotteries. It's a way of raising large amounts of money because people can buy their ticket and sell millions of tickets, and then you can have a jackpot and give away some amount of money. Now, the thing that's interesting about these lotteries is that the amounts of money that can be won are quite large. Sometimes people can win tens of millions of dollars, and you would think, hallelujah, all my problems have been solved. I've just come into, I've gone from rags to riches, right? I had nothing, I had all these problems, I had all this debt, I had, nothing was working, and now I've got $32 million. And, okay, you got to pay half of that in taxes, but still, you got $16 million. You think, what could possibly go wrong here? And the amazing thing is that from what I've read, the long-term outcomes, or even medium-term outcomes for people who win the lottery is they end up worse off than they were prior to winning the lottery. So why do I mention this? Okay, because a couple of things. Okay, it really pays to be clear on what we want. Because if we're not clear on what we want, then we can squander great wealth. So we've got this amazing richness of being alive, right? I mean, here we are. We don't really know what this is. It's a mystery, but we do know that we're here, right? I mean, that should be obvious. It's like the kind of one thing that you can know for sure. You don't know what it means. You don't understand exactly who you are, or why you're here. You don't know exactly what this is. It's all mysterious, but you're here. It's like, this is amazing. Don't know what it is. It's a mystery, but you are here. And so we have this enormous wealth of existing. So we've just come into this enormous jackpot. And now we've got to get clear on, do we want to be like every other lottery winner? Like, woo, let's get a Lamborghini. Or do we want to get clear on what we want? And we can think, I won't be like them. I'm not stupid. And I assure you, we are all just as stupid as the next person. So the way to be smart about it is to know that we're stupid, right? I mean, we have to know that this is our nature is to be moronic. We're desperate. And every time we experience any kind of difficulty or pain or despair, we are going to throw at it everything that we can think of. So we have to get clear on what is it that we really want, because if we don't have clarity on what we really want, then we are going to end up destitute. We will have squandered our great inheritance. and and we will be destitute, and we'll be in a, it's just a nice, it's a less pleasant experience. So we'll be in having a less pleasant experience and still having the same fundamental problem of not having clarity on what we want. So let's just get clear on what we want now, before before we bought more Lamborghinis. Okay, so that's one thing. So how do we get clear on what we want? I think that's the $16 million question. How do we get how do we get clear on what we really want? So we have this amazing power, let's call it, this amazing power to observe. And to imagine. Observing and imagining. And so we can just observe and get clear on, at the very least, on what it is that we don't want, right? I mean, so you got $16 million. You have $16 million, you can be assured you're gonna get on some lists. The lists that the unscrupulous folk out there who are, looking for investors, wealthy investors, you're going to be on their list of wealthy investors, so you can be assured that you're going to start getting some phone calls and some letters and some emails and some people knocking on your doors trying to sell you Lamborghinis, right? Hello, sir or madam, I have such a wonderful opportunity for you. Such a thing doesn't come along but once in a lifetime, and even that is quite a great fortune, you see. So you don't want to let this one pass you by. Now your investment today is a mere $16 million. And in exchange, you will get this Lamborghini. And they're going to make it sound really good. Or really bad. If you, like if you don't do it, it's going to be really bad. You're going to be scared. So you have to observe, you have to be watchful, because the opportunities to squander your fortune are everywhere. So if they come along and they say, buy this, buy that, invest in this, invest in that, and if you're not careful, then you say, oh yeah, that seems like a good idea. Yeah, I'll do that. And then you're like, you like Rajneeshpuram, okay? You end up like Rajneeshpuram. You got 30 Rolls Royces, and the head of your organization is addicted severely to benzodiazepines, can't even string together a sentence, and your organization is trying to murder half the people in the county. It's like, this is the sort of mess you find yourself in. So you got to get clear. What do you want? You want 30 Rolls Royces? Maybe not so much. So you got to use the powers that you have, that you've been given, these powers of observation and imagination, so that when I'm speaking metaphorically, I hope that's clear. But you've got this great gift of life. And I would say not just life, but desire. Okay, so desire is usually made out to be the enemy. But I would say no, desire is this wonderful gift. So we've been given this gift of desire and this gift of life and this gift of this power of observation and the power of imagination. And so when we are presented with these countless opportunities, as the salesmen just come relentlessly, would you like this? Would you like that? How about this investment? We can exercise our gifts of observation and we can imagine, play it out, right? So do I really believe, honestly, when I imagine this, is this going to really give me what I want? Now, I don't have to know, I don't have to have a name for what I want, right? So this is the beauty of this, is because we've heard this before that, oh, well, it's, you're not a thing, and what you want isn't a thing, and God isn't a thing, and grace isn't a thing, and oneness isn't a thing, and so, and it's ungraspable, and we hear all these things, and then we can so quickly just turn that into another thing. Yeah, I know that. I know that. Give me something new that I don't know. But you don't know that. Of course you don't know that. Because you can't know that. It's like it's impossible to know, but it's it's definitely possible to directly experience. And you can directly experience it by getting clarity on what you don't want. You don't, that's the beauty of it, is you don't have to know what it is that you want in the same way that you think you have to know something. You can know it by it's really sort of, it's like in contrast. It's there. It's like you don't see the space until you can't see space, right? You can't see the space, but you can recognize that space is here. And so in the same way, we can't get to what we want and say, ah, now I've got it, it's this. But we can get clarity on what we want because we can recognize, by exercising these powers of observation and imagination, we can recognize what we don't want, and that somehow illuminates or gives this luminous quality to what it is that we want. We're still unable to grasp it, you see, because it's not like we can't objectify it, but it's illuminated in contrast to what we don't want. So hopefully I will make this clearer, okay? But we're being given these opportunities moment to moment in our life where something presents itself as, this might solve your problem, right? This might solve your problem. This might be it. And hopefully we've had enough life experience now that on some level we recognize, wait a second, I've been here before. I've been here before. I've done this. I've been fooled so many times. And so that's like the thing, is you got $16 million, it seems like you can do whatever. You got $15 million, you're like, yeah, it's fine. $14 million, yeah, it's whatever. You get down to $10 million, maybe you start thinking, gosh, where did the $6 million go? I got nothing to show for it. You get down to $8 million, $6 million, $5 million. $1 million, $500,000, and you're like, wow, I don't know, gee, what? It starts getting your attention a little bit more. You start to be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more aware of your tendencies, your habits, the ways in which you have been fooled or in which you fool yourself. And so what I'm proposing is that as these opportunities come along and it's proposed to us, hey, this is the thing that will solve your problems and will give you what you want, right? So that could be any, it could be any number of things, right? I mean, that could be in so many different domains. It could be in the domain of, hey, here's this relationship. You get married and this is going to be wonderful forever and solve everything. Most of us know that's not going to be true, but whatever, we can still be fooled by that. We can be fooled by money, right? You think, oh God, this is if I do this, I'm going to get all this money and that's going to solve my problem. Or we think, okay, if I learn this practice, it's going to solve all my physical problems. I'm going to be so healthy. I'm going to be so strong. I'm going to be running. I'm going to be jumping. I'm going to be shouting out to the world how happy I am. So we're given, okay, do this spiritual thing, do this meditation, do this breath work, do this whatever, and that's going to be the thing. And after a while, we realize, ooh, I ain't got that much more money left. I have squandered the better part of my $16 million, and I don't have that much left. And gosh, I don't know. Why don't I just use my powers of observation and imagination? So how do I do that? Step one, I have to slow down. So the way in which, okay, you think about this, if you want to go fishing, what do? Now, if you're an expert fisherman, you'll tell me I'm all wrong because this is the wrong way to do it. But it's a way that works, okay? It doesn't matter if it's the best way. You get some bait, put it on a hook, stick it in the water where the fish are. Wait until a fish comes and bites. So the fish, God bless them, they haven't figured it out in all of these years that there's a hook there. So the trick keeps working with the fish, but the thing is, are you a fish? And you might say, no, I'm not a fish. Well, not so quick, because hold on, take a look. You are very much like a fish. We're all very fish-like. If we tell the truth, we are baited and we bite. Because we see it and it's, ooh, shiny. So there's a way in which we operate, our normal mode of operation for the majority of humanity. This does not have to be the case, but it is the case for most people, is that our dominant mode of operating is at that level of fish. We are functioning much like fish. Which is why we win the lottery and then we end up with a garage full of Rolls Royces and we're in debt. And we've got, Vinny the Mouth coming over next Thursday to break our kneecaps. Because we're not really operating above the level of fish. So that's because we're not exercising our powers of observation and imagination. So we can slow down. We have to slow down because why? Because the fish operates quickly. The fish is just bait, bite. Bait, bite. That's what the fish does. So in order to operate in a way that is more highly evolved than the fish, we have to slow down. Slowing down literally changes the way in which we function. It literally changes uh, the way in which we utilize the nervous system. I can't give you all the details, but I can tell you it's true. There's abundant evidence in support of this. And you can test it out for yourself, because you do any activity that you are familiar with, any activity that you've done every day of your life, for most of your life, brushing your teeth, lifting a spoon to your mouth, writing letters, any activity, walking, swallowing, like any activity that you have done, slow it down sufficiently and observe it, and it will blow your mind, because you will realize, I have never done this before. This thing that I've done millions of times, I've never done this. I've never actually been present to this experience. I have no idea what this is. It's fresh, it's new, it's radically different and alive. And what it takes on this psychedelic quality. It's like, whoa, I had no idea. It's like, that's not an A. You're writing the letter A. You say, that's not an A. You look at it, you say, it is an A, but it's not an A. It is, it's not. I don't understand. Your mind is blown. Why? Because you slowed down. I'm telling you, it's very powerful to slow down. So you slow down, and there's the bait. Okay, so the bait before was the thing that got you in trouble, right? Every time the bait was there, you would bite, you'd get hooked. You slow down, now suddenly the bait is not a problem. The bait actually is this divine bait. See, because it's like the divine bait appears, and it's like, there's the reminder to slow down. And then when you slow down, the bait is there, and it's there. It's like, wow, I never noticed this. And it gives you this, it's like a mirror. It reflects to you these things about yourself that you then get to discover, and it unravels, and you realize, I have been an automaton. I have been so automatic, rigid, robotic. I wasn't alive. I wasn't choosing. I wasn't present. I was just like a fish. Bait, bite, hook. That was my whole life. And then I'd say, oh God, my mouth hurts so much. What do I do? And then the next bait appears, and I say, oh, bite. And it's like on and on and on. So we have to, I'm telling you, it's the one reliable way. And it's like, this is so, it's the most powerful technology, and it's totally accessible to everybody. This is like, we don't need any laws for equal access to this, because it already is equal access. Nothing can block your access. You don't have to have Wi-Fi. You don't have to have 5G. You don't have to have a college education. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be literate. You don't have to be a great singer. You don't have to be have any skill of any kind, other than just the basics of what it is to be human, which I assure you, you have. And so it's a beautiful thing, because it's for the people. You see, this is like liberation for the people. So every time you notice that you are being baited, which is that you notice that something's got your attention and you're being lured toward it, let that be a reminder. Slow down. So how do you slow down? Probably as many ways to slow down as there are humans. So I'm not going to propose to you that I have the one way, but I'll give you a way that you can experiment with. Okay, so I really like somatic exploration because I think that it's powerful for this. So to slow down, one way is just start to notice where and how you're making unnecessary effort within your felt experience. So you'll notice that when you're baited, when your attention has been hooked, you're lured, you are uh, doing something. There's a way in which you do this that you've been unaware of, but you can become aware of it. And you do it through unnecessary effort. So you notice that, for example, in order to just be here right now, so you can test this out, here you are. Do you need to be holding your breath? But when you observe, you will almost certainly notice that you do hold your breath. Because if you allow, it's this amazing thing, if you allow the breath, if you're really just observing the breath in this very gentle way, and the inquiry is, can I just allow the breath to be completely natural? So you let the in breath be natural and complete, not forced, no unnecessary effort. And then you let the out breath occur when it's time for the out breath, not before, but just when it naturally, when you really feel it's like there's the in breath is complete, and then however long there is until there's the sense of now is the time for the out breath, and then there's the out breath, and you watch the out breath, and you just watch the out breath and 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 just watch it. You're not forcing it. You're not trying to elongate it. You're not counting. You're not trying to make it anything in particular. You're just observing the natural breath. And you'll notice it just goes until it is complete. And then however long it is before, there's this natural sense of now it's time for the in-breath, and there's the in-breath happening. So the breath takes care of itself. The question is, hold on, I have to go over to this other screen. What if your mind is distracted from other tensions? Hard to see. Well, you'll have to clarify exactly what you mean by that. But of course, yeah, so the challenge is that as soon as we start to slow down and look in this way, then we will, I would say, invariably discover that we've been making an awful lot of unnecessary effort, and that effort, which is tension, is all designed or all intended to try to manage the discomfort, the fear, the rage, and whatever else it is that we don't know how to deal with. So my mind sometimes pulls away from observing the breath by other tensions being overwhelmed. Well, yeah, of course. So yes, and that's back to my point. So yes, when we slow down, so yeah, you can observe the breath. So I'm not proposing that you need to develop the power of one-pointedness. This isn't. I'm not proposing some sort of Buddhist practice to you. So you don't need. Nobody needs to follow the breath endlessly. What I'm saying is that it is a vehicle for exploration that reveals to us what's really going on. And so that comment really serves to emphasize that very point, which is that normally when we slow down, we start to realize why we've been moving so fast, why we've been operating at the level of fish. Because the human nervous system has this tremendous capacity for awareness, and that awareness, because it's because there's so much that we have shoved into the darkness or under the rug or whatever metaphor you prefer, that we've numbed ourselves to, that when we slow down, it shifts to this other mode of perception. It utilizes a different part of the nervous system that has greater capacity for fine motor control and also for sensory awareness. And so suddenly we become aware of, wow, there's so much, you know, I mean, so much discomfort, so much confusion, so many feelings of all kinds. And so we will find, of course, that we will most likely be easily distracted. But this, you see, it gets back to my original point to kind of tie this together. I know it's a lot. I'm giving you a lot. So I want to kind of bring it back together so that hopefully it's a little clear what I'm talking about, what I'm pointing to. Is that what we have to get clear on what we really want. And if we're spending our whole lives operating at the level of fish, we will not get clarity on what we want. What we will do is give ourselves a whole lot of scars from all the hooks that we've bitten. And each time we hope that the new bait that we're biting into is going to be the remedy for the pain and discomfort of all of those scars, of all of those hooks that we've bitten in the past. And so you can maybe start to see that why that won't work. Because we can't keep adding more of the same, more effort, and genuinely believe that that is going to remedy the chronic unnecessary effort that we're already making. So it can be painful to slow down and see that, oh, I've got a whole lot of stuff here that I've been unconsciously trying really hard to manage and suppress and keep control and keep under wraps and numb myself to. Whole lot of energy going into trying to process that and do something with it and fix it and solve it, and wow, that's a lot. So that can be painful, it can be overwhelming, it can provoke a strong response. But we have to, in my view, we just have to get clear on this, because if we're not going to get clear on this, then what we're going to do is we're going to keep operating as fish. And every time there's a new bait comes along, or a new salesman, whatever, I'm mixing my metaphors, but we are gonna bite, and we are gonna be bitten, and we're gonna then go off reacting in the same way that we've always reacted, which is, where's the next thing? That one didn't work out. Where's the next thing? But we've squandered our wealth. So however much we have remaining, let's be a little more conservative. We can think that, like I said, we can think that it won't be us. We can say, I'm not stupid like them. But how do you think they ended up in the situation they ended up in? Because the thing is, it could be you. When you look out there and you see those people who you have the judgments about, you think, oh, that could never be me. Those poor fools. They're doing all the wrong things, but that will never be me, because look at me. I'm doing all the right things. I got my appointment with the Rolls-Royce dealer for later on today. Get my 31st Rolls-Royce. And we think it couldn't be me, but I'm telling you, it can be, it could be. And so let's be grateful that it's not, right? Let's be grateful that we haven't gotten to that point. Let's be grateful that we have the ability to wake up now. So whatever it is that we wake up to, whatever that is, let's give thanks that we are able to do that now, rather than waiting until tomorrow or the next day or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or when we're on our deathbed. Because we don't want to be there on the deathbed. Please, God, save me. Whatever I got to do, I'm so sorry. Don't send me to hell. We don't want to be like that. We want to have we want to see clearly now. Seeing clearly now does not mean that you will feel what you want to feel or what you think you want to feel now. It took me a long time to understand that. But that right there can save you so much unnecessary suffering, to realize that seeing clearly now will not necessarily give you the feeling that you think you want now. So then you have to get really clear again, what do you really want? And you can use this power of imagination and observation. So you think, I just want to feel good. That's fair enough. Of course you want to feel good. I want to feel good. Everybody wants to feel good. It's understandable. But here's the thing. That's the bait. And you don't want to be functioning like a fish. So you have to slow down and you have to take a look. Okay. Noticing that I'm breathing, noticing that I'm here, noticing that, oh, look at that. I've been balling up my fist. Okay, I could let that go. Not because that's going to save me, but just because these are little things that I can do that just help me to be more present, clearer, to shift so that I can use these powers that I've been given of observation and imagination. And now I can start to take a look and I can see, okay, so if I was magically granted this feeling that I think I want right now, would that actually give me what I really want? Would I actually be completely satisfied? And hopefully becomes clear, no, 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 I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be completely satisfied. So then, oh, what a miracle. I don't have to go fighting that bait. Okay. You see, it's like there's this feeling that I think that I need, but that feeling I can use these amazing gifts that I have that are not just mine, it's the gift of being human. It's available to all of us. Again, I want to emphasize that. It's available to everybody. It's not a special power. I mean, it's pretty special, but it's not uniquely special to anybody who's earned it or who's lucked into it. It is available universally to all humans. Yeah, I would say it's also called radical honesty. But again, radical honesty requires, you want to know, okay, so we talk about radical honesty and you say, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. Okay, I'm telling you, you want this clarity, you want this radical honesty. Here it is, step by step. Slow down. Find many ways to slow down so that you have many ways at your disposal. I can give you some pointers, so like I've suggested, direct somatic inquiry I find is very powerful. So you just notice, am I holding my breath? And of course you are. It's like you're always doing it. So you just let the breath be relaxed. Notice, am I clenching my jaw? Of course you are. So just let yourself relax the jaw. And you can get all worked up about that. I know because I've done it. But, oh, I don't know how to do that. That's hard. Am I doing it right? It's so frustrating. I think I got to go make lunch. I got plans for next Tuesday. I wonder why the dog is barking. I mean, you get so easily distracted from that one because there's a lot you hold in the jaw, right? We clench the jaw. Get through it. So to actually be present to letting the jaw and the breath be at ease, natural, uncontrolled, that translates as allowing our experience to be free. That means feeling stuff. All that stuff that you've worked so hard not to feel because it's not good. It's not spiritual. It's not whatever judgments we have about it. Because it's the worst possible thing. It's the thing it's worse than hell. It's worse than eternal damnation. It's completely unbearable, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what you start to feel when you're not working so hard to numb yourself by clenching your jaw all the time. So it's big, it's huge. So be gentle with yourself. It's a big deal. I'm not proposing that any of this is like going to be incredibly easy. That's another big unhelpful story. And I know that I've in some ways perpetuated that because there is possible for us now when we slow down and when we're willing just for a moment to see this as it is rather than through the filtered reactions, we do glimpse this instantaneous liberation. We discover that we are always and always have been and always will be completely free. But the reality of that is that we easily forget that. And so then people can get they can go on some weird trips, you know. They say, well, then I'm supposed to do nothing, and then they're working really hard to do nothing. I would say there's truth to do nothing, but do nothing is not that kind of thing. It's not a restraint, and it's not a rigidity. It's to actually continue over and over and over to slow down and to be present to the experience as it is. That's to do nothing, because at first that seems like effort, but the more you do it, which I'm putting in air quotes, the more you realize it's not doing at all. Everything else is doing, you see. Clenching the jaw is doing. Holding the breath is doing. Scrunching up the face is doing. Balling up your fists is doing. Thinking is doing. Agonizing, doing. That's all doing. So when we utilize these powers of observation and imagination, it's not really a doing, it's an undoing. So we slow down and then we observe, just carefully, just observe, just notice in the direct experience, which for me is synonymous with the somatic experience. I don't know how to separate them. Maybe there's someone out there who has a different experience of that, and that's fine. So you have to find your unique, personal, honest, authentic truth now, always freshly now. So what I say is a pointer. It can't be what is absolutely true for you, because I don't have access to that. You do. But we have enough in common that what I can point to will point you to that authenticity for yourself. For me, that direct experience is a somatic experience. It's a felt experience. It's an embodied experience. It's a unitive experience. It's a very present experience. It's not something that refers to any thought. It's not about, so when I say somatic, it's directly felt. The mind might have ideas about it, for sure. Of course, the mind might say, oh, that's the right hip, or that's clenching in my jaw. But the direct experience of it is much closer than that. The direct experience is much, much too close and too fast, too instantaneous and immediate and spontaneous for me to actually capture that in ideas. So I have to be willing to just continue to slow down, because the slowing down is what helps me to remain in the clarity prior to the thought, to remain with the clarity of the direct experience. And then from there, I can allow for that fantasy to play out. So I slow down, come to rest, tune into this here now spaciousness prior to thought. And again, this is all natural and completely accessible to every human. So this is not something you have to work really hard to find. This is something that is immediately accessible to you now. Your skill with it will develop the more that you explore it. Of course, your familiarity will grow. So you may not be familiar with it now, but it is, I promise you, completely accessible to you now. And you just have to explore it with curiosity. Like when you were first learning to ride a bike, you didn't know how to do it, but you learned how to do it. And it's the same kind of thing. So you just slow down, you just explore directly in your experience, and you notice that here you are aware prior to thought. That this awareness can be directed, expanded, and that you can be aware of all of this experience directly prior to thinking about it. You don't need to go this roundabout route of thinking about it. You can just stay with the directness of the experience. I will come back to that. I have to switch screens to see that. I'll come back to that comment in a moment. Step one is to slow down and just come, at least to whatever degree is possible for you now, just come to rest in this presence, this awareness that you are, that is prior to the thinking. You don't have to get rid of the thoughts. You don't have to stop the thoughts. You don't have to combat the thoughts. You don't have to care about the thoughts. Just notice that you are aware. You're aware of the thoughts. You're aware of the sensations. You're aware of the breath. You're aware of your habit of holding the breath when you do. And you're able to direct your intention to release that unnecessary effort. This is a miracle, I'm telling you. It seems so simple, and your mind will say, this can't help, it's so stupid. I promise you, this is the greatest miracle. It is so powerful. You do this. If you did just this, you couldn't have any problems. You might experience some intensity, but you would not have any problems, I can tell you that. So then from this clarity of awareness, we can then play out in imagination. Okay, so if I had this thing that I think I need, if I felt good, as nice as that would be. So it's not to say, oh, I have to now shun feeling good. Feeling good is bad now. No, that's just more nonsense from the mind. It's just to be willing to be open to, okay, look, I'm hanging everything on this. This is my final investment. Let's put it that way. Like you've got $100 to your name. You had 16 million. Now you got $100 left. And along comes the final one. It says, look, $100 investment. You're going to get to feel good. Okay, you got to be really sure. Is that a good way to invest your $100? Your last $100? Is that how you're going to do it? Let's find out. Let's utilize our powers. We're going to slow down. Notice that I'm aware. Notice that I'm aware of unnecessary effort. Notice that I can, to some degree, soften that unnecessary effort, release unnecessary effort just through awareness. Don't have to be perfect about it, but just I can notice that I have that. That helps me to slow down. Then I can look at this. Okay. So I got $100. I could invest $100, and then I would have no more money, but I would have in exchange a good feeling. Sounds nice. Let's play that out. Got that good feeling. Nope. Wouldn't really satisfy. Wouldn't really, it would be like kind of nice, but it wouldn't really satisfy. Okay, so I'm not going to bite that hook. I'm not going to bite the hook. Now, why is that powerful? Because then you're not biting hooks all the time. So again, back to the lottery winners. God, this has been like so circuitous here. I hope some of this makes sense. But back to the lottery winners. The lottery winners, you think, oh, they got so much money, they're set now. No, they end up worse than they were. This is why having clarity on what you want via moment-to-moment clarity on what you don't want saves you from all of this needless squandering of the gift of your life. Because every time something comes along and says, ooh, look here, bite this, you're exchanging some of your life for that. And you have to get clear on that. Is that what you really want to do? Do you really want to exchange part of your life for whatever that is? Because there are some things, you see, that are good investments because they actually naturally increase. But those are sort of, there's not that many things. Okay, so what are those things? Now, the words, don't get hung up on the words because these words carry some baggage. So forget about what you think the words mean, but just notice the thread of there's like a purity of 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 there's some kind of purity that is a thread among these things. If you just hear the essence of them and don't get hung up on the baggage. Okay, but forgiveness, love, generosity, freedom. So these things, they they are good investments because they naturally grow. So again, I'm not saying, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about your ideas of those things because I say generosity and then inevitably we have ideas about generosity that's somehow depleting of us. Like, oh God, I got to be generous to others. No, right? Because I mean, true generosity is not like you just, anybody who comes along, you just say, here's a handout for you, here's a handout for you, here's a handout for you. Gosh, I got nothing left for me. Here's a handout for you. That's not generosity, right? Generosity, when I'm talking about generosity, I'm talking about the purity of that in its essence is that it's like you have complete confidence and faith that there's enough for you, that you are taken care of and that you are joyful and that you can gladly offer something of goodness to others, right? That's true generosity. Not I'm going to deplete myself, not self-sacrifice, but just to have genuine confidence and knowing that you are completely taken care of, that your needs are met, and that you cannot be depleted, and that you have healthy boundaries. Like it's time for bed. Hey everybody, I'm going to bed now. I'd love to help you out after I have my lunch because I got to eat lunch now. Actually, I got to go take a nap now. I'll see you after my nap. Like that generosity does not mean you're going to deplete yourself. But these things, in their pure essence, they naturally grow. They're good investments. You cultivate these, you get more. But you'll notice that in all of these things, in order to really get to the essence, to really cultivate the truth of these things, love, generosity, freedom, it requires a kind of maturity that's somewhat rare, right? Because it's not like when we were kids, when we went to Sunday school, if we went to Sunday school, right, we learned about all of those virtuous things, right? You're supposed to get the 10 Commandments, love your neighbor. Something about not coveting your neighbor's ass. Okay, but you're supposed to, the things you're supposed to do. But that doesn't really satisfy us. So in order to discover the truth of these virtues, the real honest truth of what love really is, we have to move beyond functioning as a fish. We have to be willing to slow down and discover what we really want, and be willing not to squander our wealth chasing after things that will not satisfy us. Because then when we're in the situation, you see, and we're thinking, oh, I have to be generous. I have to be generous. A good person would be generous. And then we're functioning like a fish. Because the next person comes along for a handout, and in our heart, we're cursing them. How dare you take from me? Don't have blah, 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 blah. But we're putting on a smile because we say, I got to be generous. I got to be generous. So then that's not real generosity. Real generosity is when we know that we are taken care of. Our needs are taken care of. We are overflowing with goodness. And that overflow naturally gives to others, but it's not a depleting thing. So in order to really discover that authentically, we have to be able to slow down and recognize what we're doing. We have to recognize when we're going after the bait of, if I just behave in the righteous way, if I just behave in the way that I'm told that I'm supposed to, if I just put on this happy face, that everything's going to be okay. We have to be willing to slow down and really meet what it is that we have been so desperately trying to cover up and run away from. And in that, we discover what it is that will really truly satisfy us. And the miracle of it is that it is instantaneously revealed, you see. And that's so hard to understand, because it does not mean that life suddenly looks the way that we want it to look, or that we feel the way we want to feel. Life is still going on. There's still challenges. And there's always the possibility of improvement. So this is not a way that excludes the possibility of improvement, progressive improvement in life. I mean, of course things can progressively improve. Anybody who's, you like you've had problems and they've gotten better because you've invested wisely of yourself. But for the deepest soul satisfaction, we know that we're not going to arrive at that by just piecemeal trying to patch together things superficially. We know that in order to really discover that, we have to get clear on what it is that we really want. And that's something that we can only discover when we get clear on how we just don't. Fundamentally, it comes down to getting clear on how we're making so much unnecessary effort trying to fix things, secure things, maintain things, project things, etc. And through that, then coupled with courage, we begin to release the unnecessary effort, which can be challenging because then we're faced with all of the stuff that we've been trying to avoid, you see, because we've been programmed. We are, like I said earlier, we operate like fish or like robots, automatons. We think that we're making these choices, but you take a look, you slow down and you start to realize you're not choosing these things, you're reacting. And the reactions are all attempts to avoid the pain. And it's so understandable. It's so innocent and understandable, but it's also a path of torture. And so we really do have to. We have to. Sooner or later, we have to wake up from that. And so I saw there was one more comment that I'm going to take a look at here. So it says, I have trouble seeing how I can let go of habits of controlling discomfort due to fears. And distaste for situations not being the way I want them to be. So there is urgency and reactivity and somewhat stupidity as well. I think that, yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, so you're that, yes. Okay, so you have, I mean, it's a great question. Okay, so fundamentally, I think as this comment points to, is that we're afraid. And that fear tends to have with it this, I mean, it's just can make us crazy, right? You've been afraid sometimes. I'm sure everybody's had these experiences of being experienced fear, and then you calm down a little bit, whether that's after 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days or 5 weeks, and you look back on it and you realize, boy, I was acting like a crazy person. I was thinking in a very muddled way. It was totally unclear. I can't believe I was thinking in that way. Because the fear generates the sense of urgency, which makes the bait on the hook look awfully good. And so the the automaton functions from fear. And it's a good system for what it is. It's a good system because, every child has, well, not every child, almost every child has learned at some point about hot things, whether it's a fire or a hot stove. Every child almost has learned that. And how did they learn it? Because they got burned. And if they didn't learn it by getting burned, they learned it how? Probably by getting shouted at or slapped. Because you can't reason with the 2-year-old child and say, honey, that there is hot. Now, I know you don't know what hot is, and I know you don't know what burn is, And I know you have no way of understanding this whatsoever, but I want to just appeal to you as kindly as I can. Just don't touch that, because they can't understand it. So we have the experience, whether it's getting burned or slapped or shouted at, and it scares us. And so that imprints this conditioning so that we remember, don't do that again. That's useful, right? I mean, I'm grateful that I do not burn myself daily. I use fire daily, but I don't burn myself daily. I'm grateful for that. And fear was a helpful tool for that. But if we struggle, see, here's the problem is at the level of the automaton, we can't fix it at that level because the automaton can't become self-aware. You are aware, though. So we have to be willing to let go of the automaton identity. And I know that's somewhat challenging, but you kind of have to just start to see it. You have to start to see that, okay, the automaton is experiencing fear. The fear is the automaton's programming to keep it alive. It's functioned pretty well because still alive. Fish still here. But you have to start to, when you slow down, you realize that, and you don't have to divorce yourself from the animal. You don't have to separate yourself as some kind of separate spirit way out in the ethers, or start referring to yourself in third person or anything. But when I say the automaton, I mean this functioning, this this capacity within the nervous system that has been dominant is automatic. It's what it is. It's just a series of programs. There's no possibility within that. I say no possibility. The possibility is significantly, severely less that assemblage of programs is going to become self-aware versus the portion of the nervous system that already has that capacity, that's just waiting for you to make use of it. So we can, when we slow down, we become aware, and then in that awareness, we have to see, it's such a great question. We have to see that, oh yeah, that's the conditioning. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the conditioning. The tendency is to go right back into automaton mode and try to fix it. Like the automaton has in it this sort of like limited capacity for self-repair, you know, because it's like, it's always tinkering and making little adjustments. But overall, it is controlled by entropy, right? Which means it falls over time. It falls into greater chaos, less efficiency, because it's controlled by fear, and that has severe limitations. It's great for what it is. When there's a limited capacity within the organism for certain types of awareness, just because of the limitations of the organism at certain ages, it makes sense that fear would be the way that you would program the organism. So we can just get over that and just accept that that's the case for now, at least, until we discover something better. But here we are now, and we can just say, okay, look, that's all. I can see all of that. I can see how that's all true. I can see how my life has been just basically all programmed by fear, running away from fear, trying to manage fear, and that I'm just chasing after things, squandering my inheritance so that I can try and outrun fear or escape fear or patch up fear or make fear look shiny and new. And that's never going to satisfy. So I can slow down. And the more I slow down, the more I can see clearly the conditioning. Now, as I say, the tendency then is to jump back into automaton mode, and then we're trying to fix it. Oh, okay, well, what do I do about this? This is horrible. This is a great, great big disaster. This is overwhelming. I can't believe this. I don't want to feel this way. I need to do something. What am I going to do? I have to do something now. I can't bear it for another second. So then we have to slow down again. Because especially at first, it's so tenuous, you know. I mean, we haven't really cultivated, most of us, these parts of the nervous system that lend themselves to this kind of awareness. So we have to be patient with it. But the more we the more we do it, and really frequency is better than duration. So I would say just as often as possible throughout the day, slow down. Just pause. Notice that if you're holding your breath, just let yourself be. And then you can start to see how your conditioning is playing out. You just start to see, wow, yeah, I'm afraid. I'm in pain. And all of the things that I'm grasping for to fix that won't fix that. Can't get enough good feelings or good thoughts or enough money or enough love or enough approval or enough health or enough anything in order to fix that. So now I can just be with this, and I can start to allow for something new to emerge. And that is maybe the hardest part. But all the fixing, all the urgency to do something, all of that, it's all coming from the automaton. It's all coming from fear, all of it. So then just be patient, be quiet, be still, not restrained, but still, restful, and patiently wait for something new to emerge. And you don't know what it is because it's new. You can't know in advance what it is because you can't. That's why I'm saying the automaton doesn't have this capacity, but you do. So I hope that addressed that question. That's all I've got to say for now. That's my spiel. So as usual, recording this will be up on YouTube, publicly viewable. So if you would like to speak, I would love to hear from you. But know that you will be in the video, should you choose to speak. That will be up on YouTube.
I'm sorry I missed the last 5 minutes. But my question, and you maybe answered it in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
My greatest fear is I find myself so less interested in so many things like shopping, eating, so many things that seem to fill this emptiness.
Yeah.
And yet I am anxious,
Mm.
and there is a fear of what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Don't do all these things. Yeah. So that's a pretty big fear in my life, Joey.
Yeah. Well, great. That's an awesome observation. Yeah, because I think a lot of people who, I mean, it's a good. I mean, what you've just shared, it makes it very clear that you are slowing down and you are observing, and because we don't see those kinds of things unless we are slowing down and observing. Because otherwise, we just say, well, we just work harder at it. We say, well, it doesn't matter, I'll find something. You can always turn it up, you turn it. It's like okay, that kind of shopping didn't do it for me, but what if I went on, and what if I did that kind of shopping? That kind of, those, movies are dull now, but ooh, what about that kind of movie? So we normally, the normal way is just keep turning it up, more stimulation, more, 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 more. But at some point, and blessedly for those who have discovered that point now, or sooner rather than later, it's like less to clean up, so that's good. But yeah, it can be so challenging, right? Because we discover that none of those things are going to do it for me. But then at the same time, I want something that's going to do it for me, because I can't bear the whatever this is that seems just so unbearable, right? I mean, it just like you just feel so stir crazy. You're sitting there and you like, there's nothing I want to do. There's nothing that's going to fix this, but I got to do something because I just feel so awful. So that's why I say that's the most challenging. I find that's the most can be the most challenging part, is that it takes so much courage, tremendous amount of courage, to be willing just to slow down. And then we really hope and wish and pray that we'll get something, we'll feel better. It's like we want the reward then. We want to slow down, and then we want to be instantly rewarded with, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing because I feel better. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it does not. And that's the hardest, is when we slow down and we don't feel better. Worse than that, not only do we not feel better, in fact, now we're just face to face with the urgency of how horrible we feel. And that's the point at which we must patiently remain quietly at rest, observing and waiting for something new to emerge. And the thing about that I find so challenging is because it is genuinely new, right? What we are in need of is something genuinely new. That's the thing, is when we search around, we search through all of our ambitions and our hopes and our memories and our ideas and everything, and we just realize there is nothing new here. Nothing. I've tried it all. There is no new combination of these ingredients that's going to taste good. I've tried them all. That's why you get to that point and you realize, it's like, okay, I can't just keep turning up the stimulation, because the stimulation is composed of the same ingredients that never satisfy. So we know that what we really are longing for is something new, genuinely new, not just some reassemblage of the existing ingredients, but truly new. And the thing about something that's truly new is it's new. It's completely unknown to you. That's why, that's why it's so powerful to slow down and pause and observe and imagine, because then you can see that, oh yeah, whatever I was thinking this was going to do for me, whatever I was hopeful that this movie or this shopping or this food or this book or this group or this whatever I was hopeful that was going to do for me, in fact, it's not new. It's more of the same. So then it brings us back to being really honest, and then we have to be restful and and patiently, expectantly waiting for something new to emerge. And it happens. It really does. It actually happens. And it starts to happen more and more reliably. The more that you discover the way to really rest with that kind of patient expectation, it starts to happen reliably. I don't mean that it's never going to happen the way you think it needs to, exactly on your schedule, but it starts to happen a lot more reliably because you start to get out of your own way more reliably. Because through the patient expectation and the observation, you become more familiar with what it is that you do that gets in the way. Because the newness is always available. You see, that's the thing about new, is it's like all new, always. And the only thing that is not new is what it is that we do habitually. And because we're so, for the most part, we're so focused on the repetition of the same old habits and postures, and that our focus is on that, then we don't experience a whole lot of newness, because we just keep experiencing things through the filter of the same habits that we keep repeating over and over and over. Again, that's the automaton. The automaton's prayer is, I want to keep doing the same things that I know, and I want it to be better. And that won't work. And that's the thing, is that you get to that point in your life and you get that kind of clarity, you realize it's not going to work. And then you end up in that kind of position that you're talking about, which can be very challenging, I know, because it's like, nothing's going to do it for me. What am I going to do? And so that's a very, very, very good thing, even though it's challenging. It's such a powerful position to be in, because now you are in the position of, for the first time, really exercising genuine choice. And that genuine choice is not, I'm going to do it. Rather, it is, I am not going to do it. I am going to simply be here and patiently observe, quietly, and soften every unnecessary effort that I become aware of, and just be patiently, expectantly waiting newness. And I'm very well aware that I don't know what that is. So I can't predict what it will look like, or what it will feel like, or where it's going to show up, or how it's going to show up, or who it's going to show up through, or anything. But I am going to just commit to, because I've got nothing else that's going to satisfy me. So I'm going to commit. I'm just going to be here patiently, expectantly waiting for that newness, and it will emerge. It absolutely will emerge. You just keep patiently, expectantly waiting, while observing for all of the unnecessary effort and strain that you make, all of the grasping that you make, all of the protestations and the complaining and the striving and the all arguments and all that. And you just start to see how much effort it requires, and how that distracts from just patiently expectantly waiting. You got to imagine, it's like you got to be like the dog waiting for his master to come home. You're just like, you got nothing. It's nothing else is nearly as important. You're just waiting. So expectantly waiting that. And I assure you, it gets more and more reliable. It's like anything, though. It just takes, you got to practice it to become familiar with it. And because it's something that is more inward than outward. It's harder for somebody to, you know, like if you were learning to play the piano and I was a piano teacher, you know, it would be easier in some ways, because I could say, okay, play that for me, and you play it, and I'd say, well, that, you know, that sounds pretty good, but that right there, try this instead. But since this is such an internal thing, then it's harder to give those kinds of adjustments. So we kind of have to just talk about it in these metaphors and pointers. But you know, the experience that you're describing is, I would say it's a good sign, even though I get it, it's challenging.
I think it was your last session or the session before that that kind of sticks with me, where you were talking about just lying down for an hour.
Yeah.
And just noticing your body. And I know for me, I always have my shoulders up. It's like that. And various things you said that I see are stress in my body.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that that would be very helpful to just lay still for an hour and have a timer and just watch the body. Would you would recommend that, apparently, since you spoke about it?
I would, although, you know, you know, I always want to set people up for the greatest success possible. So I would say that I can give you some more. Let me, at the very least, let me give you some more tips. I mean, there's so much I could say about that, but I am doing I haven't opened it up publicly just yet, but I am putting together a 30-day somatic guided practice things. I'm creating videos, 30-minute videos of guided explorations, gentle somatic explorations that would be very supportive for this kind of thing, because it gives a lot of experience from slightly different perspectives on discovering how to direct the intention to soften or release unnecessary effort. So that is not quite ready, but when it is ready, that I'll make that known on my email list, and that would be very supportive. But if you're wanting to start now, okay, I would suggest a couple of things. One is that I know I had said an hour before, but in reconsidering this, I would say it would be better. Frequency is better. So I think it would be better, rather than doing it for an hour, it would be better to do it 3 or 4 times in the day for 15 minutes at a time. And you want to lie preferably on as firm of a surface as can be comfortable for you. So you want to being comfortable is important. So this is definitely not the sort of thing where you're striving to power through it, or, you know, like no pain, no gain. It's not that kind of thing. You want it to be comfortable. But on the other hand, you want to feel. And so if you're doing it in bed, which is acceptable, but if you're doing it in bed, just you'll notice that you don't get as the same kind of feedback that allows you to feel as much as if you were lying on the floor with a mat under you or a rug under you. So you want to be comfortable. You don't want to be on bare, hard floor. And then you want to, you know, in general, you're going to find that if your legs are extended, it's going to put more strain in your lower back for most people. So in general, you're going to find it's a more neutral position if you have the knees bent, the feet on the floor. And you'll play with the position there because you'll find that there are various little shifts that you can make that will make that position more or less strenuous. You want to find the least strenuous, most comfortable, most relaxed possible. Obviously, it's not going to be completely effortless because to hold your knees up like that requires some muscular effort, but you want to find the most easeful way to do that. You want to have your neck, well, your head supported. So most people have this head forward posture. It's very common. Almost nobody doesn't have it. And so most people have chronic tension everywhere in the body, but among those places in the back of the neck, because when the head is forward, in order to keep the eyes level, the neck has to be bent back slightly. So people hold a lot of chronic tension there. And so for a lot of people lying on their back without something elevating their head slightly will be stressful and uncomfortable. So you want to have something under your head. You could, you probably a bed pillow would be too much, both potentially too thick and too soft. So you could use a folded up towel. Sometimes people use a stack of paperback books, and that lets you adjust the height, because what will happen is as you are exploring that, you'll find that your neck and head become more at ease, and then you won't need to elevate it as much to be comfortable. So then you'll remove a book and stack will go down. And eventually, at some point, you'll find that you're able to lie with your head, the back of your head resting on the floor, and that will be very comfortable. But you never want to push yourself to do that if it's not comfortable, because that won't help you. And then as you're lying there, don't make any, you get into your position. So you're allowed to kind of adjust to get as comfortable as you can. But then for the most part, don't make any, now I would give, under certain circumstances, I would give different instructions than this, but just as a general instruction. So this isn't the one way to do it, but this is a useful general instruction. Just lie there and don't make any big adjustments. Don't adjust yourself. Once you've gotten in a position, don't adjust yourself trying to become more comfortable. And the reason that this is important is because what this will highlight, and this really ties in with the whole talk today, is it will highlight to you, you will become very aware of your habits of constantly adjusting, making these micro adjustments, trying to get comfortable. And you start to see that you start to tell the truth about it, and it just becomes glaringly obvious. It's like, how did I never see this before? But gosh, my whole life I've been shifting and adjusting constantly, trying to get more comfortable. And what has been the result of this? Have I gotten more comfortable or less comfortable? Clearly, less comfortable. Over time, I've gotten less comfortable. So what's the obvious truth? All of my little adjustments, my compulsive little adjustments, they have not made things better. If anything, they've made things worse. So I want to, for these 15 minutes, not indulge those compulsive adjustments. What I'm wanting to become aware of is both the compulsive, those compulsions, and also by not indulging those, I start to become aware of how it is that I am making unnecessary effort, holding tension unnecessarily. And I start to discover how I can direct the intention to soften that. So softening is allowed in this. The difference between softening, or we could say releasing, and an adjustment is a very important distinction to make, though, because an adjustment would be that you have to exert additional effort to move in some way. That we don't want. But softening or releasing is you become aware through this observation of how you're making unnecessary effort. So let's say you're lying on the floor and you start to become aware of this discomfort in your lower back. And then you start to become aware of this compulsion to, what are you going to do? You're going to move, somehow you're going to move your pelvis, or you're going to do something, some kind of compulsion to shift in some way, to adjust in some way. And you say, okay, hold on, I'm not going to do that. Just tune in and you notice, okay, where am I making unnecessary effort? So I'm aware of this discomfort in the lower back, but I'm just going to kind of just let my awareness radiate out from there and just become aware. Where am I making unnecessary effort? And you start to maybe become aware, oh, never realized that before, but I'm gripping my butt. Or I'm clenching my belly. So then you start to become curious about that, and you start to explore directing the intention to soften or release that unnecessary effort. So that's not making more effort, that's the release of the effort. So that is my advice. Does that I think those are good. I think that kind of covered the basics of that.
That's very, very helpful. Thank you, and I look forward to your class.
Good. And then I saw that this kind of a comment that came in. I should accept and follow. I can't focus as well on write-up work. This ties up into so many compulsions on wanting to get things. I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'm having to figure out what this means. So in relation to the question earlier on, should I accept and allow that I can't focus as well on write-up work? Well, if that's true, then yes. Be patient that conditioning interferes with performance at work. Yes. I mean, but that's the thing about it, is that that's still, and I understand you're putting it into words to ask the question. But just also be aware of how this attempt to understand is, this is coming from the automaton. This is coming from the conditioning. And so you could just slow down right now and then observe to see if you had the answer to this question. Would that give you what you really want? And I hope that you can see that it wouldn't give you what you really want, because it just wouldn't. What you really want, however, is what you really want is not something that you're going to get through answers to questions or solving problems. It's because the thing about the problems is they're never ending. There's just a chain of problems. You solve one and then there's another one. And that just goes on and on and on and on. So no matter how good you get at solving problems, which can be a useful skill to have, by the way. I mean, it's not that solving problems is inherently bad. It's just that it's not going to give you what you really want. It's a useful skill to have in life, maybe. So you don't have to try and get rid of that, but you can see that solving problems never gives you the deep satisfaction that you're really wanting. And so rather than following problems and chasing after problems, trying to solve them, thinking incorrectly that that's going to give you what you really want, you can instead start to tune into the recognition of what it is that you really want, which becomes, as I said earlier, illuminated when you get clarity on what it is that you don't want. So when you think that you want something and you slow down and you observe and you see that that won't give you real satisfaction, you become aware without it having to be a thought, but you just naturally become aware of what you want and that is already actually present. You can't really figure that out, but it works. So the advice that I'm giving is, rather than trying to figure it out, and rather than giving attention to those kinds of questions, and it's fine that you ask the question. It's useful in this case, but just notice that that tendency to give attention to those questions, you can just observe that and see, will the answers to those questions really give you what you honestly want? And you'll see it won't, couldn't possibly. And so that actually directly leads you to what it is that you really want. And then the question is just, can you continue to come back there? The mind's never satisfied with that. The mind is always saying, no, there's got to be something else. That couldn't be it. But so if anybody has something pressing, I can do that. But otherwise, I'm hoping to wrap up because I've got something I wanted to do in the next 40 minutes. So anything
Joey,
pressing? Yeah.
Can I?
Sure, if it's pressing.
It is. I've done nothing. The nothingness of and getting to what is has really been my, like, let's say, my life's purpose for the past month, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And it really turned things around for me.
Mm-hmm.
I see all the tendencies to escape loneliness, I mean, we call it loneliness, as you say, but there's just this energy that we call loneliness, this energy that these baits that you're talking about. When I look at girls now, I gotta do something. All
Sure.
of these, I get these impulses to do so much stuff.
Yeah.
When I let go and do nothing, I've seen radically my perspective changing to more restfulness. I see myself centered, even though I get these impulses, strong impulses. I feel like I'm in the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even in that confusion, even in that state, I could still see that, I could see what's happening, what's actually happening. I don't have to escape this. I don't have to name something. It's the same experience that has always been, maybe a different version of it, but I could always get to what is.
Mm-hmm.
but the pressing thing right now is I got this project that's going on in my college that I got to do.
Well,
And
that you can choose to do. Yeah.
I can't, like, so I don't know what to do sometimes. It's like I have to do this, but I'm always, so in life, when I don't know, I give up, right? And that's it. And I have this feeling of like, oh, I gave up. But when I give up now, I'm in this new country, I'll be kicked out.
Hmm.
I'm
Right.
forced.
So then you could choose to do it.
Yeah.
This is the thing. The thing is, okay. Um, that it's a great thing to discover. It's a great thing to discover that this uh, that you see your brain is telling you I can't. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do, and you're believing it.
Hmm.
So you can it makes all kinds of excuses. It says, well, but this is somehow connected with all of this experience for the last month, and maybe it means something, and it's creating this whole story. But you don't need to be giving any attention to that, because you could find out. You could just say, look, uh, I'm just going to do it. Whatever the project is, it's like whatever it is, you could just do it.
Mhm.
If you just do it, then something gets done.
Mhm.
But you think that it has to be some other way. You think that you've got to know how to do it before you do
Yeah, that's where I'm
it.
at.
And you could just do it. You could, I mean, it doesn't have to be good.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be anything. It could just be whatever it is. But, it's like whatever, I have no idea, it could be painting a mural, or it could be writing a paper. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, just do it. How many days until it's due?
Yeah, I got like month and 20 days.
Okay, so you got 50 days. How many, if you did half an hour a day?
Yeah, it'd be done in, I guess, 3 weeks.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
By the way, in theory, not always in practice, but in theory, college is about learning, and and learning is about something you don't already know. So it sounds like maybe this project is an opportunity for learning.
The reason that's a pressing issue is I don't know if you remember, like when I first got my first job, I had the same feeling when I encountered with something that I feel like when I'm not passionate about it and I don't know, I can't figure out. I tend to escape it.
Hmm?
I come up with
Now you've seen it. Yeah,
hmm,
that's what I'm saying. Is you because you are always doing something.
mhm,
So uh, unnecessary effort doesn't mean, when I talk about unnecessary effort, I'm not saying just become a blob. I'm saying you're choosing to do something. Just become aware of what you're choosing. Choose that consciously, and then do it efficiently by not uh, indulging any unnecessary effort. So if you're choosing, you don't have to choose this, by the way, but if you're choosing, if you say, look, I want to be in Canada and I want to go to college, then you know that you will be best to actually complete the coursework.
mhm.
And so if you're choosing that, then I would say, then just choose that efficiently. But you start to take a look and you see, well, okay, so when I'm faced with not knowing how to do something, or not having confidence, or whatever, then what do? Oh, I try to escape. Great. So then start to see how you try to escape, and you'll see all the unnecessary effort you're making, all the thinking you're doing, all the worrying you're doing, all the imagining you're doing that's not needed, that's not helpful, that's not illuminating anything, that's just indulging more of the same old thing that never got you what you wanted anyway.
Okay.
And so then you become aware of that and you realize, okay, what do I really want? You know, I mean, do I actually want to, do I want to get kicked out of college, or do I want to stay here? Because there's not a right or wrong, but you could choose it, because it will probably be more painful to let it be, to choose it unconsciously through indulging your old habits. So you, instead, you know, you're becoming aware, you just see, okay, well, there it is. I'm making an awful lot of effort. I feel kind of exhausted because I've been working overtime trying to avoid. And so instead of making all of that effort, what if I really don't do anything just for a moment here? And then have clarity about, what is it I want to do? Do I want to complete this project? If I do, then I'm not going to be wasting my time sitting here thinking about how I should, about whatever I'm thinking about.
Mm.
You know, because it doesn't, the project doesn't require whatever it is. It just requires that you do it. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be good. I promise you, you know, your coursework does not need to be that good.
For sure.
If you actually do it, you're doing better than 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So
You got everything right. That's where I'm at right now until now. 50%. Yeah, I'm there.
well, with the, what do they call that when you grade with a curve? Everybody else is, you just hope everybody else is doing poorly, and then your 50% is more like you get an A.
Yeah. All right.
Good. So let me know how that turns out. You should have it
Sure.
wrapped in the next couple weeks.
I'll wrap it up in a week, hopefully.
Okay, good.
I have a question that will take about a minute.
Sure.
You refer to comments, and where are these comments coming from?
Oh, it's through the Zoom chat feature.
Oh, okay. But they're not over here, right?
Sometimes people send them privately, so they just come to me. Why?
Oh, gotcha. That's where they come from. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.